Thank you. All right, good morning, everybody. So, as you heard, I'm Dirk Ahlborn. I'm the CEO of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, and, well, we say we transform transportation at the speed of sound. So traveling at the speed of sound sounds amazing, doesn't it? But what is actually the Hyperloop? Imagine a capsule filled with people or freight hovering inside a tube and moving really, really fast from one point to the other. Inside this tube, we create a low-pressure environment. So basically, we take all the air out so that the capsule, very similar to an airplane that goes into high altitudes, can travel much faster with very little energy. The system is completely green. Actually, we can, in certain regions, be energy net positive. So using solar, wind, kinetic energy through regenerative braking to sometimes produce more energy than we're actually using. And this is a very important factor because if you look around and you actually do a little bit of research, there's no rail line, no metro line in the world that's profitable. They're all losing money. They're all heavily relying on government subsidies. Because we have very low operational costs, we actually can be profitable in a very short time span. And that's really where we see our blue ocean. All right, but why should we have a Hyperloop? This is why. Traffic. Traffic is one of the biggest problems that we have. We spend a lot of time in traffic, time that we could be productive, time that we could spend with people that we care about. Traffic is actually so important that based on where we live, we choose where to work. Actually, based on where we live, we choose who to date. I live in Los Angeles, for example. If she lives on the other side of the city, it's not going to work out. And then there's this. Beijing on a sunny day. On a bad day, you actually can't see your hand in front of your face. So now some people think that's a problem, China and India, but actually, if you live in North America, you probably lose 14 months of your life thanks to pollution. So transportation is only a small part of that, or, well, a part of that, but I think still believes that it's an important thing to take a look at. And then we have the railroad industry. They're literally a dinosaur industry. We're building old infrastructure, very expensive. Think about the California high-speed rail. When we could build new ones, much, much cheaper. So these are, as an example, traditional railroad tracks. The distance in between is 1 meter 43.5, so 4 feet 8.5 inches. Anybody here knows why? Of course you know. All right, so it's basically the Roman carriage. So we're building new infrastructure today based on the butt of 2 horses. But if we would take those tracks and just make them larger, for example, we could move more people, more freight, safer and faster. So that's already a little bit of innovation that we could do, but we're not. So it's literally hundreds of years that moving in a train hasn't really changed. And then there's what I mentioned earlier. It doesn't make economic sense. Even so, it was built by entrepreneurs, and some people got really rich when we're talking about trains. They're continuously losing money. In Los Angeles, for example, they're making 76 cents per passenger, and $2.50 are coming from government subsidies. Now, some people say, well, LA, everybody takes a car, and that's true. But New York, the New York subway, to give you an example, they're losing 82 cents per passenger, which is $2.2 billion every single year. Germany spends $22 billion every year in their rail system, and it's like that everywhere in the world. But how would our lives be if we would have a Hyperloop? Well, one of the biggest problems we're having are airports, for example. We're building more and more of them. They're a lot of times very close to the city, sometimes not too close, but if we would have a Hyperloop, we could actually connect these, and now the airports, the single airports, would actually become terminals. right? We could build them much further out and still be there within minutes. We're talking about freight. We could have containers or come from China within hours rather than within weeks. We could deliver in a whole country within an hour everywhere from one central warehouse. It definitely changes completely how we look at distribution of products. But the most important part, and I think the part that most people get excited about, is we can live in one place and work in another, right? Actually, from a real estate perspective, you could buy, say, 150 miles outside of Los Angeles something. And if you want to buy, where I live in LA, a house, you have to spend at least $1 million if you don't want to get risk to get shot in the front yard. But you could now buy something or sell something for $250,000, a little bit further out, maybe 150 miles, and connect it with a Hyperloop and still be within 10 minutes in the city center. So not only the real estate speculation actually pays for the entire system. But we're doing something else. So we're building the system in a very specific way. When we talk about the technology, that's already there. The technology has been existing for quite some time. We have made some progress now when it comes to vacuum technology, so things are getting cheaper. It actually now makes economic sense. We know how to build pylons, we know how to build tubes. Been doing it for quite some time. We know how to create a vacuum efficiently. This is a picture of the CERN Hadron Collider in Switzerland, which the vacuum is actually much more difficult than the one that we are using. And the company responsible for that vacuum is actually part of our team. So the expertise is there. When we talk about alternative energy, it's a safe bet. It's very similar to the silicon chip, actually. It's becoming better and better every year and cheaper and cheaper. So today in California, we're capable of covering our whole energy costs just with solar. But we know that in 2-3 years, that's even going to look better. But we're also building a company in a completely different way. And that's the part that I'm personally are most passionate about. So I'm sure you all are familiar with these companies. They all have something in common. They're all failures. And then there are these companies. All of these companies have something in common as well. All of these companies, oops, sorry about that, integrated crowdsourcing at one point of their history. Some of these companies have 50% of the innovation coming from the outside. Lego, for example, was almost bankrupt. They switched the CEOs, a new CEO integrated crowdsourcing, and now today it's one of the most successful toy companies out there. I step continuously on them. But when we talk about trains and metros, this is where it's happening, behind closed doors. You hear about it, you hear how much it might cost, that they want to build something, but that's it. Well, in our case, we do something that we call crowdstorming. So we basically work with you. We work with our community. We work with the world actively and even sometimes in a hidden way. And what we do here is we ask questions. You see, we have the possibility to build a transportation system the way we should build it in 2017. So we need to ask questions. We need to question everything. Things like, do we need a ticket? And not only do we need a paper ticket, but what is the business model? Is a ticket really the best way of making money? Or is maybe transportation only the marketing and I actually monetize on the time of the passenger? Or if I look at where we spend our money and I see that we're spending billions of dollars in pylons, maybe there's other things we can do with those pylons. So it's just a question, if I give you 200 pylons and I say they're yours, what are you going to do with them? And it's only asking that question that then gets some crazy ideas and some great ones. So we're working in all the different areas. We're looking into figuring out how we can build better systems, how we can allow transportation companies on making more money. So, for example, we have one project which we call virtual windows, where we use normal screen, and we use head tracking to simulate the movement to simulate the movement so that it really looks like you're looking outside of a window. So imagine you're inside the metro, if you can't imagine a Hyperloop, and you're going through Jurassic World, Terminator Land, or Game of Thrones. For you, it's an experience, and for the transportation company, it's actually a way of making money. So we do a lot more, actually. We have a completely different way of how we have created this company. We have a community now of over 60,000 people. We have 800 team members all around the world that are working in exchange for stock options, and over 44 companies that are part of what we're doing. We're all over the world. I don't know why the fonts don't show up, but we have offices now in Los Angeles, in Barcelona, we're opening up in Toulouse, we're in Slovakia, we're in the Emirates. And as I said earlier, some of the leading companies are part of our team. We have Atkins, which is one of the leading construction engineering firm. We have Leibold. And together with all the other people, they're all working just for stock options in the company. So we have been able, with very little money, to create a huge amount of value in the company. The people that we have on the team are powered by passion, not by money. Of course, we have a traditional team as well that starts to manage everybody, but we're solving a lot of issues. So when we talked about A players before, those A players come automatically. We see the people that are the best and the brightest and have the most passion. When you want to hire someone and you already know that there's someone who's working after his job 10, 20 hours a week because he really loves this project and were able to test him out, that's the right guy you can hire. You know, when you talk about normally train, I mean, Amtrak is not really sexy, right? So they have an issue of attracting the right people, and they're paying good money. We have 5 new applications every single day. And these are guys that work at Facebook, at Google, at NASA, at Boeing, that were at SpaceX, at Tesla, you name it. We have it. We have a wide variety of people from, actually one of the guys we have on the team is a musician, he's a saxophone player of Pink Floyd. We have people that are artists mixing together with engineers, and everybody brings their perspective and everybody brings their experience, working on it part-time or full-time. I'm going to skip this one, but sorry. But why are we doing this way? So everybody, when they think about the Hyperloop, think about Elon Musk. Turns out we have been thinking about this for quite some time. The first project was in 1870 in New York. They built a pneumatic subway. They actually built a station and a track. Obviously, I mean, the goal was to connect San Francisco. Didn't happen, but was one of the first attempts. In 1904 was the first patent for a train inside a vacuum in a tube by Robert Goddard, one of the most well-known rocket scientists of our times. In America, in the 60s, the US government had 2 projects working on tube travel, and the Secretary of Transportation said that this will change the way Americans live and move. The Jetsons had the same idea. In the 90s, there was a project in Switzerland called Swiss Metro, actually very similar to what we do today, but they wanted to tunnel and had very large maglev trains in a low-pressure environment. Feasible, but pretty expensive. The Simpsons. And then there was Elon Musk. So when Elon came out and said that he wanted, you know, he thought this was a great idea, but he didn't have the time to work on it because he was too busy with Tesla and SpaceX, I was part of a non-profit incubator that was funded by NASA, and we were working on a new way of building companies. You see, you do everything online, right? You get your groceries, you find your boyfriend, girlfriend online. In America, you even can get divorced online. But when it comes to building a business, it's still you with a friend in a bar or a coffee shop scribbling something on a napkin and thinking that you're solving a big, big problem. 6 months later, you realize that this is actually not the problem to be solved, nobody else has that problem, or advertising isn't the best way of making money. So, but what if you would have 10, 50, 100, 1,000 people that give you their honest opinions, their ideas, their contacts? you would be able to build a better company. So we built a platform where we're trying to test this out, and the platform was ready at the same time. Then Elon Musk came out with the Hyperloop idea. So I thought it was a perfect fit. We asked the community, we asked for permission, we asked the community if they wanted to be working on it. They not only said, yes, we want to be doing it, but they actually said, I want to be part of that. So we allowed them to work in exchange for stock options with a minimum of 10 hours per week and had roughly 200 engineers. 100 of them worked on the feasibility study, which was finished in 2014. And, well, today we are more than 800 people all around the world. There are several companies working on it. We realized it had to be a movement, which it is. And the Hyperloop is happening. When? Well, just last week, we had a big announcement. Take a look. There should be a video playing, but...
Maestro, video, please.
Oh. All right, you guys... You want to make it play so I don't... Nope. All right.
It's coming, it's coming.
Can you guys push play? It's there, I heard it. Space bar or... There you go.
Voila!
Our dream of creating the next breakthrough in transportation takes a big step forward today.
Carburis is a consolidated leader in the structural composites world with over 15 years of experience in developing and manufacturing structural composites. With over 1,000 employees, 8 manufacturing plants and 5 engineering centers, it is the perfect partner for HTT to capitalize on this knowledge and become one of our great partners.
This is a fascinating project for us, and we will show our expertise, our technology around the world.
Using passive magnetic levitation and a low-pressure tube, we are building a safer, more efficient way to move people forward. And now, 3 years later, after countless designs and thousands of hours, we're turning our dream into reality. We're building the first full-scale passenger Hyperloop capsule in the world. So we just put into production the first full-scale Hyperloop capsule. As I said, the technology is ready. We have several projects around the world. We're working in Abu Dhabi on a feasibility study with a sheikh. We're working in Indonesia. The biggest hurdle is actually government regulation. So we're having a lot of work with all the politicians around, but we'll be starting construction later this year. It's going to take roughly 3 years, and then you'll be able to ride the Hyperloop. The capsule now takes roughly 1 year to be finalized. So, yeah, my time's up. He's already here. And you're all welcome, and whoever wants to take Yossi's place can give the ticket.
Yeah, we are looking for volunteers to do the first ride. Anybody who's interested should come to Dirk and with a copy of his will and registered.
See you next
Dirk,
week.
I must tell you one thing. All of us are willing to bet our futures on our dreams. But the size of this dream really is something that you really have to appreciate what Dirk is doing. How many years you are working on it now?
A little bit over 3.5.
3.5. And until the first one will hopefully...
Well, until we open to the public, it's another 3 years, but you know, we're already seeing now.
Good, you are optimist.
Well, I mean, I know what we're doing, so yeah.
Good.
It's all about innovation. It's not
Let
about...
me ask you the most important question. What your mother say about all these things? She's here, your mother?
No, she's slowly understanding what we're doing. So, no,
Because, you know, I have a Spanish friend, and he told me when in Spain, when you come to your mother with a dream, she tell you, why don't you go and find a solid job at the post office? They pay salary, you know, every week.
for the first couple of years, she always told me, you should have taken that job in Luxembourg with a bank that they offered you. But, you know, now she's happy if I'm happy.
It wouldn't be more exciting life in working in a Luxembourg bank, tell me.
Well, maybe a lot of disruption that you can do there, but you know.
Okay, when I count to 3, everybody will scream loudly, good luck. 1, 2, 3. Good luck. Thank you very much, Dirk.